Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. We're going to get started here in just a second. Let me get my ducks in a row. When I go live, if you don't know this, I do the lives just kind of on the side, trying to help every day, share something I know. And so I run from one particular work area back to doing the lives. I love doing the lives, so I don't have any challenge there, but sometimes I'm slightly not totally organized. All right, I got to get my things shared. Okay, I'm good. I just had to get my tech kind of lined up. Glad to see people engaging in the chat. Thank you for doing that. It always makes training turn into a community and networking event. So keep that up. Good job there. I'd like to start off with a quick tip for success for those showing up early and on time. And today's tip is around metadata. I wanted to share a tip about metadata, also known as properties. And so if you think about a file that you have out there, generally a Microsoft Word document, even a Google Doc, a PDF, Adobe PDF, when you have these files, if you go to the file menu, you can see a properties section. Sometimes like in Microsoft Office for Word, you'll see info. So properties or info, whatever it is in there, when you click on it, that property is called metadata. Metadata is basically data about data. Doesn't really matter. But if you think about your capability statement as a good example, your capability statement's first piece of metadata is the file name. And so you want to make sure you properly name that. You can watch my tip yesterday on how to do that. But that piece of metadata usually is the only piece of metadata people fill out. What I want you to do is to fill out the rest of the metadata. Go into your capability statement in Adobe Acrobat or in Word and go to info or go to properties, and you will see that you can fill out titles, subject. You can add all sorts of keywords. Sometimes I encourage my customers to take their capability narrative that is in DSBS and put it into their standard documents. So when I write RFI responses, I use that metadata as this way of almost advertising. And here's the power behind metadata. When you apply metadata to a file, like your capability statement or your RFI response, and you send it to the government, those people save that file to their network drive, their hard drive. And more often than not, they're not saving it to a personal drive. They're saving it to a drive that is used by many people. So many contracting officers or maybe a small business professional puts it in a place where anybody doing market research can get access. And so they come in and they type something like cybersecurity. And here's the beauty of metadata. If they type cybersecurity and you have cybersecurity on the face of your capability statement, well, you're going to come up in the results along with all of your competitors. But if you have cybersecurity, as an example, in the metadata and they do that search, the first results that come back are where cybersecurity is in the metadata. Those results rise higher. That's just how search works. And then everybody else who just has cybersecurity on their capability statement, the face of it, then they show up. And so it's a competitive advantage to be able to do that. It's also a way to throw in a whole bunch of extra words that if somebody is searching, it doesn't have to be on the face of the document. They can still see your company that way. So it's called metadata. It's another word for just file properties. Inside of the Microsoft Office world, it's called info. For some reason, they decided to change the word properties to info, but it's the same thing. Okay, so that was just a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. I appreciate that you do. I appreciate that you engage in chat. Okay, so let's get started talking about how to find and build relationships or how to start and build relationships with program office folks. I get asked all the time, how can I get into a program office to meet with those federal buyers? How can I talk with them, et cetera? And I get it, right? Because your chances of success in government contracting, it increases 100-fold at least when you have relationships inside your target agency's program offices, right? So you have an opportunity comes out on SAM or wherever, and when you're looking at that PWS, that's the program office who has that requirement. The small business professional, the acquisition people, the contracting people, they all deal with the I's and the T's and signing the contract and set-asides, but the program office is the one who has the requirement. And those are the people you want to be talking to. These are the people with the need, right? They're the very people who define that scope of work, both in problems or challenges, as well as objectives and goals that they have. We'll talk a little bit more about that. These are the people who are going to care about your ideas and your approach. Initially, I was thinking about this. It's like they're going to care the most. No, they're the only ones who are going to really care. Why would a contracting officer care about your approach to SharePoint, application development when they are also buying cybersecurity and flooring and elevators and everything else? They don't have time to do it. It's not that they're dismissive or anything. It's like that's why they have the program office. They look to the program office to understand your ideas and your approach. And so you want to begin to make sure you're educating that program office through various meetings, et cetera. And we'll talk more about that. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But so today, we are going to be talking about, let me share my screen here. Actually, let me put this up. And where's my slide deck? There we go. We're going to be talking about accessing those federal program offices. Everything that I teach is a process, and you'll hear me say this over and over in my training, but it's really important to understand this. If you're not getting into program offices, it's just because you haven't figured out how. You don't really have the process, or you know the process and you don't have the right people who are getting you in there, but you can get in there. I spent almost all of my life, childhood and adulthood, saying there's no such word as can't. For those of you who come from my generation or older in particular, that's all we ever heard. There's no such thing as can't. But now I've evolved that. I have 10-year-old sons, and so I've evolved this to what I teach them is just add the word yet. I can't get into program offices yet. And when you put that yet on there, then you're telling yourself it's just a temporary thing. I know I could get into program offices. In today's training, we got about 25 minutes. I'm going to share the importance of having those relationships with program offices. I'm going to talk a little bit about when's the right time. Spoiler alert, now, right? And I'm going to talk about which program offices and which people. And I'm going to try to go in and show you, I am going to go in and show you this live. So I want to get to the live part as fast as possible. And then I'll end today's training with some tips on how to get in, have those meetings, et cetera, and how to make them really useful for you. Just occurred to me, I'm not sharing my slides. So let me get back here. I got back. I don't generally look at the chat while I'm working on training and doing that stuff, but I saw one person's chat and I didn't actually even see who it said, but our generation rocks, right? If you're in Gen X, put Gen X rocks. I was just going to write a LinkedIn post that says, and I'm doing a total sidebar here, but how come no one ever talks about my generation, Gen X? They never say we're bad. They never say we're good. They just kind of bypass us. There's baby boomers, and then there's millennials and Gen X, and everybody's lazy or ruining the country or this stuff. I'm like, hey, we're lazy too, or we're good. Somebody needs to show us Gen Xers some respect. All right, little sidetrack. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am co-founder of GovCon in a Box, brand new AI SaaS platform we're building to bring you the tools related to all the training we're doing so you can start winning more federal contracts. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our Government Contracting Success newsletter. We put out a lot of good content in there. Most recently, we just put in step-by-step guidance on how to register in the supplier portal of one of the largest, top 5 government contracting prime contractors out there. So go get in their portal. They talk about it on their website. Before you talk to us, make sure you're in our portal. Hey, get in our portal. We use our portal to search for people like you using keywords. It was great for me to just see them talking about how they search for you. Echoes exactly what I tell you about making sure you're visible to the buyer. Okay, and then Monday, so today is Friday. If you're here live, Monday, the 28th of October is virtual networking. We'll do that at noon instead of training, and we'll bring people together. We have well over 200 people who are registered for the networking event. Love to have you in there. It's government contracting. I don't know what words I'm saying. It's www.govconinabox.com/networking. And maybe somebody will put it in the chat because apparently I'm just going a little too fast today. So congratulations to Shani and Rafa from Brave One and DVO Systems. Reverse those, but congratulations to the newest two newest companies. We actually had another one right before I came on, but I'll announce you in the networking event. But these 89 companies, 90 if we count the one that just hit the 100 club, have hit the 100 club, meaning they got a score of 100 out of 100. So 1 to 100, and they got a score of 100 of federal visibility score. And this is in GovCon in a box. You can check your score, but this is us telling you how visible are you to federal buyers in the tools that they're looking at. And then we give you the tips. You can find your score. You click on your score, and I walk through what you need to do specifically for your company to get to 100, not generically, but when you go to your score, you will see us providing that free guidance for you. A little video that guides you if you need that. But congratulations to all of these clubs. Quick shout out to Global Trading and StarMark Solutions. I'm just randomly grabbing to remind people that these companies are visible, and I'm going to start pushing them to federal buyers and to large primes, saying, hey, come look at these visible companies. Okay, so let's drive into what I wanted to do today is, instead of having 4 or 5 slides, just one slide that can guide me down what I want to talk about, so I can jump into showing you live how do I find program office people. So the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of relationships with federal buyers. And I might actually just come off sharing for 1 second. So the importance of getting into a program office, they're the ones with the need. They're the ones with the problem, and they're the ones with the goal or the objective. And I talk about this, that people buy for 2 reasons. There's a problem they're trying to overcome, a challenge, an issue, et cetera. And then there's a goal that I want something new. So somebody who just wants a new car just because it's the new car, well, they don't really have a problem. But somebody whose brakes are out, well, they got a problem, right? And so they're trying to fix it. You need to understand what your buyer is more interested in, but the program office is the place you can talk to them about this. Program office personnel are the ones you can do spin selling. If you've never heard me talk about spin selling, it stands for situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff questions. These are the type of questions you can ask somebody. Situational questions are factual. You generally should use the internet or a small business professional, get those questions answered. But problem questions and implication questions are what you want to get in and talk to your program office for. That's why you want these relationships, so you can uncover the problem that they have. Let's say it's computers, and the CIO's problem is the servers keep going down or crashing or whatever. Okay, so there's the problem, and you can dig into that problem. Why is that happening? Is it because the power is bad, and I'm a power company and I can help you? Is it because there's water leaking from the roof and you don't need a computer person, you need a roofing person, or whatever it is? If you uncover the problem and ask about questions, you'll be able to dig into that and then understand how you can help. The implication questions are, well, hey, CIO, your computers are going up and down and they're interfering. What's the implication to the rest of the agency? And so an example is, well, when our computers are down, HR can't do anything about it. When I had the White House as our customer, and there was issues with the computer, with internet, with applications, those issues didn't just impact the people here. It impacted the Secret Service, who were at forward events planning for it. It impacted the president and their team as they traveled around the world, right? And so there's this sense of how is a problem that you identify having a broader implication across the agency. When you get into a program office, you can really explore this. The other main reason for talking with a program office, building relationships, is because these are the people you can influence and educate about possible solutions. If you don't know this, when you identify an opportunity, you put it in your pipeline, capture is about shaping that opportunity, improving that opportunity to the point you can win. It includes talking with the program office about this is the direction we're thinking from a solutioning standpoint. You get in there and have conversations with these people you have developed relationships with, and you can get them to go, oh, no, we thought about that last year. We're going to try something else, or we need to find something else because that didn't really work for us. But you're able to have somebody that can understand your recommendations and talk about ideas. So when's the right time to get in there and start talking to these program office personnel? Always. So if you're trying to sell to a federal agency like FEMA, right, you want to get in there now. If you have a business development person working for you, if you're the primary business developer, meaning getting into an agency and finding opportunities, building relationships, if that's your primary role, then you want to be doing it now. And you want to be developing, what I say is at least 8 strategic relationships. And you, in this particular case, around a program office, A strategic relationship is somebody who's in the world that you're in. So if you're in IT, they need to be in IT. You know, it could be a director of this, a CIO, whatever, but they need to be in IT if you're in IT. If it's HR, you need to be looking to the HR people. The IT person is not a strategic relationship. They're a great relationship. You certainly want to have those, but you want to have 8 strategic relationships in your niche area, the area you're going to be. And so you want to start building those because obviously you can ask those questions I talked about, but also you can hear about opportunities that are coming out when you have those. The next best time to talk or to try to start these relationships is when you're when you have an opportunity you're trying to pursue. The earlier the better, because the earlier in the acquisition life cycle, the better chance you'll have that they'll take your meeting, they'll talk to you, they won't worry about, oh, I don't know if I can talk to you or not, right? And so the earlier the better. If you're brand new to government contracting, fundamentally you should be looking at revenue and sales wins happening 6+ months out. That doesn't mean it can happen inside, but that's not the realistic way. That's not the best way to do sales. And so if you need something inside of 6 months, just go subcontract. But if you're prime contracting, you should identify opportunities that are 6 to 24 months out. That gives you more than enough time to try to figure out whose door to knock on, and then how to get in there and develop a relationship to get it started, and then to begin to strengthen that relationship. So when you have real serious questions, you have an ability to get somewhere. Okay, let me share my, well, actually, let me set the scenario because I want to go show you Program Office. And I'm going to talk for a minute and I'm going to see if anybody wants me to chase their thing. But think of a Program Office that you might want to get into. What agency you're trying to get into? What do you sell and how are you trying to get in there? And I want to show you realistically how I do this. I don't want to show it all prepared. If I was going to show you all prepared, I would show you the Navy and say, hey, what if I wanted to get into the Navy, into NAVWAR, which is a major command, into PEO Digital, which is a major program executive office that has a lot of major projects under it. What if I wanted to get in there? Well, I've done it like, 50 times probably. So I know exactly where to go. I could show you that, or you could watch that video again, but I'd rather sit there and try to go, well, let me show you when I don't know anything about where I'm trying to go, because even experienced people, we run and hit a wall. We're, oh, not that way. We back up, we go this way, and we hit a wall, right? And so we're figuring it out. I got a couple of more seconds I'm going to watch. I'm going to drink a sip of water. If I don't see anybody saying, hey, go check this out, then I'll go figure out my own. Coming down, and no. Okay, so I'm going to take my own. Let me set the scenario. I want to sell staffing services to the government. Now, I happen to know there's a lot of people on training that I do that are in the staffing companies. And so I want to get in there and start talking to them. So I'm going to, hey, Melanie, I got kind of close. Personnel, HR, that's where I'm going to go. So staffing, personnel, HR, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Okay. And I'm going to take HR in the Army as an example. How do I start finding program offices and how do I go get in the door? So let's go figure this out together. Make sure I share my screen. By the way, go to GovCon in a Box, check out your score. You just come here and say, start with my free visibility score, put your UEI, and you're off to the races. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot one thing really quick. I'm sharing my screen really quick. Networking event, make sure you register. That's Monday. Hopefully you heard me say that already. On Thursday, speaking of the military, right? I've got a fireside chat set up. So instead of live training, I'm going to be talking with General Trevino. She's somebody I connected with. She and I connected on LinkedIn. It's super cool because she actually reached out to me first. But she's the head of contracting. She's the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Contracting in the Office of Secretary of the Air Force for acquisition technology and logistics. And so she's contracting. If you look at the org chart, she leads 8,000 acquisition personnel as a functional manager over those folks. And I think it's like they manage something like $850 billion in programs, $70 billion a year in annual program management. Those are my words, like that's the spend that they're tracking on. So she is awesome. She is the top. And I'm going to be having conversations with her, not from a billion-dollar company, but from a small business perspective, talking to somebody who's responsible for $70 billion and saying, how can I get a piece of that? So if you're interested, make sure you're tracking. I'll be doing that soon. I'll be dropping a notice out. Okay, let's go find Army personnel HR. I'm going to use Melanie's thing there. Okay, so Google's my friend. If Google's not your friend, but I'm typing in Army, I'm just using personnel and HR, just like Melanie put into the chat. So the first thing I'm doing is coming in here. Let's assume I don't know anything about the Army page, but I instantly see the Army Command, whatever that is. So United States Army Human Resources Command. That sounds pretty good for a start, right? One of the other things to keep in mind is when you do this kind of sales, I'm trying to get into one office so that they can tell me, oh, you should probably go somewhere else, right? And then maybe they can make an introduction. First thing I like doing is to look for strategic plans and or something like this, right? An organization. So let's just start with the organization. I don't need ask an app or whatever. I'm looking for an about. Anybody find an about? Tell me. These are all things I'm going to ignore this because this looks like it's resources for the people who are actually in the military, promotions, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting. I don't think this is the place I really want to go. I am going to go to LinkedIn though, because I have a page. So I'll go look at that. So the reason I say I don't think I want this is because this right away to me, this kind of looks like it's for the soldiers and not like a broader thing, but I'll figure that out in a second. So I'm going to go to the organization. And remember, if you're just coming here, I'm not trying to give you perfect. I'm trying to show you how I do something that I don't know anything about. I mean, I know how to do research, right? But I don't know HR in the Army. So here I'm coming and looking at this. So I'm going to look at HR Directorate. That's always good. I'm looking for offices. By the way, this is kind of cool. So these are contacts. We'll see what that looks like. Enterprise Modernization Directorate. Okay, so now I'm actually starting to get a picture here that these are the directorates, and you guys probably caught that way before me. But each of these directorates, I can start building an org chart. I wish I had an org chart to show you, but I lay out in a mind mapping. When I start working in the HR of Army, I will build out an org chart so I can keep coming back, and I'll put links. I'm going to pop to LinkedIn really quick and just see what I see. And so if I come in here, it's their official page of the Human Resources Department, blah, blah, blah. So here's one way I can start finding people. I'm just coming down. I can look sometimes on the side, see how this says USPDA. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to go check it out. But the other thing I do is right here, I can click on people, and you can come back and watch the replay. But now I can start learning who some of these people are. So Patricia, for example, she's in acquisition in the HR command. Well, she might be a perfect one for me to put on my list to see if I can get 10, 15 minutes to talk to her. Some of these other people, this is a commanding general, human resources command. I'm assuming CG, right? Commanding general, that's who I worked with. But I can follow Hope, General Rampy. I can follow her and go see, what is she posting? Does she post stuff about her agency, et cetera? A lot of agency people in here. I'm going to take one stab and just type recruiting. I don't know if this is the right thing to type, but I just typed recruiting. Maybe that was too broad of a word, 120. But what I was trying to do is inside of the Army Human Resources Command, are there people responsible for recruiting? By the way, if you've never heard me talk about this, I talk about going and talking to other people who were working there. So let's look at this guy here. And I'm just trying to find people that might lead me. So this guy, we both worked a long time ago, but this person, Citywide Solutions Director of Sales, but it looks like they're selling in. Oh no, right here. So this is an interesting one, right? I might put him on my list and say, hey, Jason, can I get 10 minutes of your time? I might even just ask one question in LinkedIn. Can I get 5-10 minutes of your time to just learn about Human Resource Command? Okay, so here's the PDA, and I still don't know what it is. It doesn't really tell me, and it doesn't give me a page. So I'm going to move on for the moment. So I already showed you this. This is a great way. This is one of my favorite ways I can come in and begin to see how these are organized. Like Special Compensations Branch, this is people dealing with the money side of HR. The ability to go in and see what's going on. Here's transition, right? In the Modernization Directorate, this person's responsible, I'm assuming, for military transition coming out of the Army. So you want to dig into those. But here I've got the different directorates. So here's an enlisted management. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's at, but I can start learning. What I'm really looking for, and I want to just show this to you, this is a place for me to just start learning more. if I come in here, I can start looking at some of these, and this is too much for a 30-minute training, but you see how as I come in here, I can see in the officers directorate, there's an operations division, operations support division, sustainment divisions. I can see how they're organized. Those acquisition personnel, I can reach out and talk to them. I don't think I'm going to see something here that says, let me try this sitemap really quick. But if I come in here, just tracking my time, I'm looking to see this officer career page, adjutant general. So it's not really something that's helpful to me. I'm looking for something that is really going to be useful. So let me go back. So this is the command leadership. One thing I will tell you that I'm not seeing that I'm looking for is I'm not seeing anything around strategic plans, etc. So these are all leaders, military leaders, and this might be a little too deep for me. And so what I'm going to do is take another stab at Google. And before I close all this stuff, I'm just going to come in here and type strategic plan. So I'm going to add one more in just to see what I get. So first thing I see, and by the way, I ignore this stuff. When I'm trying to do research, I don't care what Google's AI says. If I'm asking an Excel question, yeah, sure. But here, I want to go into my own place. And so let me just close all these guys. So here, I'm looking at the Army people strategy, acquisition workforce. These are perfect. This is a good place for me to start. So this is 2019, but it doesn't really matter to me at the moment because I can look in and come down and start learning about how the organization is organized. Something like this, I can start seeing how they think, right? They've got critical enablers, lines of effort, strategic outcome. I always talk about if I'm going to get meetings, I want to align myself to some of these, right? How can I help with retaining talent? Or if I'm a trainer, I can develop talent. It's like, okay, I'm developing talent. Where do I go in there to talk? What I would be doing here with this Army document is I would be going to the small business specialist as an easy start and saying, hey, I got October 2019. Do you have something more modern? Or I would just go in here to Google. Let me just, man, my time's really tight. I always got so much I want to show. But here, let's just say I'm looking in the last year. Show me what's out there in the last year. And I'm able to see more documents, et cetera. Here's from the Office of Secretary of Defense, Human Capital Operating Plan, right? This is ability for me to dig down deeper. But where is that other one? So there's the Army acquisition. This is the other one I wanted to do. Let me see if it shows me a little bit more about strategic plan. So here, this guy here, acquisition, let me zoom in really quick. So this guy here, Ronald Richardson, is Director of Acquisition Career Management. If I'm trying to do personnel and HR, staffing and recruiting, I will use him as a path to start going where I want. In fact, I could just click on his website, apparently. And if I go there, now I'm in, okay, so now I'm not in general recruiting, staffing, et cetera, but now I'm in the acquisition workforce and their human capital plans that are in here. And this allows me to just start digging deeper. As I go farther in, I can find more information. And so let me pause for 1 second. The whole point, though, is you're starting to try to figure out how do I get in to a program office, and it takes research. I'm doing this in 15 minutes, right? I would give myself days of doing solid research, make sure I'm planning, understand the org chart. Then I would begin to build the names. And so let's say a week or 2 weeks where I've got 100 people's names in the Army, then I would do outreach. So thinking about a couple of days of research, that's not wasted time. That is very good time. Okay, so very quickly, only got 2 minutes. Tips for reaching out to the program office. Make sure you have a niche. So if you're talking about HR, recruiting, et cetera, make sure you can speak to that niche. You understand the language. And by reading their documents, you can align their language to your expertise. And then make sure you've been paid for it before you reach out to the government. Otherwise, just subcontract. Number 2, tie yourself to the strategic goals like I showed. When you reach out with an email, always make it very small. Think Twitter size. Number 4, reference something that'll make them say, yes, I was looking at that strategic plan and we aligned to these priorities that you had. I'd like to talk to you about that. Something like that. Don't ever give up. Number 5, never surrender, right? Just keep trying 30, 40 times. When you're in a meeting with a program office, this is really important. Remember, you want to be listening. That is your goal. You're in there to uncover their problems, their challenges, and their goals. And when you listen, you'll be able to hear those and have more than one meeting. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. Pick one agency, the Army, and then narrow that down maybe to a command, right? Know your niche. Don't say I do all this stuff. If you're in computers, go tighter. If you're in clouds, go tighter. I'm in AWS, for example. Don't be afraid to niche down. Niching down gets you in the door, then you expand again. And then the last one is meet them when you're talking with them in these meetings to talk about problems, their goals, not your solutions. Not until you've evolved to that stage. So the first 2, 3, 4 meetings could all be about them. Hey, here's some other stuff you didn't know about. Okay, don't forget to register for networking on Monday, govconinAbox.com/networking. I would love to see you there. We got over 200 people there, and I know they'd love to meet you. If you're already registered, invite 5 friends. Let's make sure we're telling people about it. And as you move through your weekend, have fun. But remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.